Ahoy! So, fun fact, the audio in this is not original from my part. It is from my friend Jordan's part. It's just we did the call and I was trying to get things set up. And my microphone had this really weird sound in the background, and I ended up having to redub my entire vocals. So if it doesn't sound completely natural, it's because it technically isn't. It's actually me pretending to sound natural. So with that said, I tried my best. On to the show. Ahoy! So I'm at my friend Jordan's house. This is Jordan.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about what makes D&D fun, but we're going to do it a little backwards. We're actually going to go through what makes D&D not fun. Things like what sort of habits or practices just don't jive with our playstyles. I mean, obviously, everybody plays D&D for different reasons, but there are a few things that the majority of players might not find to be that conducive to a engaging playstyle. So we're going to be talking about those things. So for a bit of context, I've been trying to get into D&D for 2 years now, and I've never really been able to do it. And it's not because I don't think I have the characteristics of somebody who would enjoy D&D. I'm just, well, I don't know what it is. So we're trying to figure out what makes D&D fun, so that people who are in my situation maybe can look at it with a new light. So my friend Jordan here, he's been in a bunch of D&D sessions. He's actually DM'd one, I believe. How many have you been in total?
Total? I don't know how many total, but I have been involved in about 5 or 6 different campaigns. 2 of which are still going and 2 of which are still on hold.
I feel that.
So, yeah. I've DM'd, I've DM'd 2 campaigns before, and the rest I've played in,
So, out of all the campaigns you've been a part of, what do you think you appreciated the least?
I think there are a few things that do annoy me about D&D. There's just when players are not working together. I mean, not in a certain sense of our characters have conflicting interests, which is interesting, and you can have that. But what I'm talking more about is greed, I guess, is a video game-esque kind of greed of I gotta get all the things. So where players are fighting to say, I get the thing first, or I get the magic item first, or I search the room first, because they want to have the specific item, instead of them all finding it together and then figuring out who would be best to have this item, based off of what everybody already has and stuff. It's just, I think that's rooted in from video games, because a lot of people play D&D like it's a video game, but it's not, because you're not the only person playing the game. Other people are playing the game. So I think that's one of the most annoying things that I've come across.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely get that. Honestly, when it comes down to it, it's tempting to think of D&D as a board game, just because of the way it presents itself. And I've never liked board games. When I was 8, I would call them bored, B-O-R-E-D games, just because they'd make you bored. And that was my sense of humor as a 7-year-old. And I will admit, as someone who really enjoys to read and write, enjoys storytelling, I want to come into D&D with that element, and I know that that's definitely present. Even in things like the battle system and the battle mechanics, that could be a big part of your character. I've seen, it was my friend Charles, he made a JRPG-style game. That was the first game where my eyes opened to the idea of, oh my gosh, you can reveal character in battle sequences, that's really cool. But the moment that you sort of make it arbitrary and it becomes less about the characters and more about the game ability and the gameplay, I can see how that would make it less fun.
I think that one campaign with you, that I was going to say that the combat system is probably why you don't like D&D. because it causes you to lose interest in one way or another. And part of that is the DM's responsibility too, because combat can like be boring, and it has been boring for me as well a few times. And I know for some of my players, they've been bored during combat. It's because if you don't structure an encounter in like a interesting enough way, it just feels like grinding to get your health points versus the enemy's health points. So like there's ways to subvert that in like describing like what your character is gonna do, or like the DM can ask the character like how exactly you're using your weapon, right? But how exactly are you hitting this creature? Are you just going to hit it with the hilts of your sword or whatever? Or are you going to try to, like, I don't know, disarm them in some way with your strike? Like, because the thing about D&D combat is that there's people that, like, just completely stick to the rules of, like, by the book. And then there's people that will explore a little bit more and be like, well, there's no specific rule for this, but my player is coming up with a creative idea. I might as well let them try to get something out of it. And so maybe instead of just saying, oh, I go over here, I hit the guy, or if you're controlling an enemy as a DM, he goes over there and hits you. It's like the monster grabs you and is carrying you around now, or you're grappled or whatever. Just more interesting like events happening in combat instead of just like I hit you and you hit me.
We're a happy family. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. It was there. Anyway, though, your character, like as we were talking about, your character is what your character does. It's choices, especially tough choices, that really let your character figure themselves out. And that's why I think it takes a few sessions for people to kind of figure out and get to the groove of their character, because it takes those decisions. I remember I was in a session one time, it was a few years back, when I was playing a wizard, and I was stuck in a cave fighting frost giants for 2 real-life months. And I wasn't allowed to do anything but... I'm sorry, I'm really bad with D&D spell names. I don't know, it's a cantrip. It's like a firebolt, I think. I could be wrong. That's like basically the only thing I could do. I mean, there were other things I could do. I could spawn a house in the middle of the cavern and squish all of the frost giants, or whatever else we were fighting, which I think would be really fun. But I unfortunately was not allowed to do that, and I literally would stay there for like hours at a time doing that cantrip. Anyway, I think the moral of the story is, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, I've heard it said that DMs really shouldn't say no as much as they should say yes, and then force the players to deal with the consequences of their actions.
Yes, I agree with that completely, because you hear these stories about murder hobos and whatnot, just going out and killing like just player NPCs. Well, someone cares about that NPC, and you can create different adventures where your players are being hunted because they're going out and murdering people. So then they become the villains of the story. If they want to derail that, then that's their choice. But I mean, if you're not having fun as the DM either, maybe talk to the players.
Well, yeah, because it matters if the DM is having a good time or not. Because
yes.
If the DM is not having a good time, nobody else is having a good time, especially in homebrew settings. It's like, you know what really bothers me? You know what really perturbs my potatoes? When a DM has spent all this time making this homebrew setting they're super proud of, and then everybody just murder hobos all the way through it. Like, I've never been in a session like that, thank goodness. But that's just, it's soul crushing, isn't it?
They treat some people. It reminds me of like a playtester or something.
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from.
just going in trying to destroy your video game or whatever, but it's not a video game.
Yeah, like a playtester, if they weren't oh my gosh. Playtesters are like the exact opposite. They're like the foils of those guys, because you kind of want them to break your game. Like, that's the whole point, is to find all the holes in it. But you don't want to do that with a homebrew setting. That just makes it less fun.
I know, I was just saying they're treating it like that.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. It's like, it's appropriate when you're a beta tester. It's just not when you're in a game.
You know that thing you worked really hard on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
No, let's just destroy it. We'll just sit on it. Oh man. Oh gosh, that perturbs my potatoes. Well, anyway, it looks like we're right about at time.
Yeah.
Dang it. Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for letting me come over and talking about this. I know we haven't talked about it for super long, but I do feel like we got some general points out, and I think it was kind of a fun conversation. I'm still trying to figure out how to do this whole do videos with other people thing. So thank you for being my guinea pig on this adventure. All right, and to the audience, do the YouTube things, please. I appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe and hit the bell, and yes. Thank you. If you could comment stuff about this video, because I feel like this might be a good conversation piece, or I don't know. I want to hear what you guys think. Like, I mean, I legit want to hear what you guys think. Like, I want to enjoy D&D. So if you don't mind leaving a comment, that is extremely appreciated. Thank you guys, and I'll see you when I see you next time. I don't know when that'll be. Okay, bye guys.